When we think of the 1960s and 70s, our minds often drift to the innocent Saturday morning cartoons of Hanna-Barbera or the whimsical fairy tales of Disney. But lurking in the shadows of the counterculture revolution was a bizarre and often unsettling world of films created exclusively for adults. These were not your family-friendly adventures. They were provocative, surreal, and unapologetically R-rated explorations of themes that would make Mickey Mouse blush. In an era of free love and political chaos, animators stopped playing safe. From psychedelic body horror to explicit social satire, these films pushed the boundaries of what animation could be, proving that the medium was capable of far more than just entertaining children. Prepare to question your reality as we dive into a countdown of R-rated cartoons from the golden age of the underground that you won't believe are real. And the warning, the film at number 1 is a legendary piece of transgressive art that was banned in dozens of countries and nearly destroyed its creator's career. Don't blink. Leave a comment. Which vintage cartoon gave you nightmares as a kid? Let's begin. Number 10. Hey Good Lookin'. 1975/1982. We kick off our list with a film from the man who single-handedly shattered the myth that animation was for kids, Ralph Bakshi. While this film was famously delayed and reworked, its soul belongs to the mid-70s underground. Hey Good Looking is a grimy, sweaty, and unapologetically honest love letter and hate letter to the gangs of Brooklyn. It is a world far removed from whimsical mascots. It's a visual trash can filled with sex, violence, and racial stereotypes that would never survive a modern studio board meeting. The film's atmosphere is pure, unfiltered urban grit, a relentless barrage of hand-drawn characters that feel both crude and artistically brilliant. Bakshi uses aggressive, distorted facial features and a feverish pace to create a sense of anarchic fun that you would never find in a mainstream feature. Every frame feels like it was sketched on a grease-stained napkin in a back-alley diner. The plot escalates into a chaotic descent into madness as the characters navigate a landscape of social decay and personal failure. It is a masterpiece of adult animation that is as politically incorrect as it is visually inventive, proving that no one makes films quite like the pioneers of the 70s. Number 9. Dirty Duck. Down and Dirty Duck, 1974. If you think you've seen everything the 70s had to offer, Dirty Duck is here to prove you wrong. Created during the height of the psychedelic revolution, this film is an audacious and X-rated journey that shatters every wholesome memory you might have of animated animals. The story follows an insurance salesman who is led into a debaucherous world of absolute irreverence by a lecherous, foul Ralph Duck. The film's defining characteristic is its unapologetically adult and often juvenile humor, exploring the sex lives and drug-fueled fantasies of its characters with a smutty glee. The animation style remains simple and cartoonish, which only serves to amplify the shock value of the grotesque and often offensive scenarios. It is a film designed as a middle finger to the sanitized world of mainstream animation, daring to imagine a deeply flawed and hilariously grim reality for its characters. It is a true cult classic that is as funny as it is deeply, deeply weird, capturing a general sense of anarchic fun that was revolutionary for its time. 8. Tarzoon, Shame of the Jungle. Tarzoon, La Honte de la Jungle, 1975. From the twisted mind of Belgian cartoonist Pisha comes this prehistoric and jungle-themed sex comedy that is as crude as it is creative. Known for its bizarre take on the dawn of man and classic hero archetypes, the film follows a clumsy, inept version of Tarzan who must navigate a world filled with strange creatures and slapstick dangers. The atmosphere is one of complete irreverence, gleefully subverting the innocence of the source material with explicit sexual content and dark, cynical humor. For its American release, the film was redubbed with voices from Saturday Night Live alumni, including Bill Murray, which added a layer of frantic, anarchic satire to the mix. The animation style is simple, creating a strange and effective contrast with the raunchy subject matter. It is a sequel of sorts to the human experience that nobody asks for, but one that you will certainly never forget. It revels in its own weirdness, providing a lovably demented journey that is as hilarious as it is horrifying. 7. Fritz the Cat, 1972. When we talk about R-rated cartoons that changed the world, we have to talk about the crown jewel of the underground, Fritz the Cat. Directed by Ralph Bakshi and based on the legendary comics by Robert Crumb, this wasn't just a movie, it was a cultural explosion that shattered the innocence of animation forever. It became the first animated feature to receive an X rating in the United States, proving that there was a massive, hungry audience for cartoons that dealt with the raw, unfiltered reality of the street. The film captures the 1960s counterculture with a brutal, cynical eye. Fritz is a licorice, self-absorbed NYU student who drifts through a series of debaucherous encounters, from drug-fueled orgies in city bathtubs to radical political riots in the heart of Harlem. The animation style is a masterclass in urban decay. The backgrounds are often watercolors that look like they've been soaked in rain and soot, while the characters are drawn with a frantic, rubbery energy that feels both familiar and deeply wrong. The atmosphere is thick with a sense of rebellion and disillusionment. You aren't just watching a story about a cat, you're watching the death of the hippie dream, rendered in a style that is as provocative as it is artistically brilliant. It's a relentless barrage of explicit social satire and grotesque imagery that forces you to question the very nature of wholesome entertainment. Even today, its unapologetic portrayal of race, sex, and politics remains a shocking middle finger to the sanitized world of mainstream cinema. 6. Belladonna of Sadness, Kanashimi no Belladonna, 1973. Leaving the grimy streets of New York behind, we dive into a psychedelic and erotic masterpiece from Japan. Belladonna of Sadness is the final film in Osamu Tezuka's adult-oriented Anamorama trilogy, and it is a breathtaking, haunting descent into madness. Based on the 19th century history of witchcraft, the film tells the tragic story of Jean, a peasant woman who is sexually assaulted by a local lord and subsequently strikes a deal with the devil to gain power and revenge. This isn't just a cartoon. It is a sprawling work of experimental art that blends traditional Japanese styles with modernist psychedelic imagery. The film's atmosphere is dreamlike and hypnotic, characterized by long, static shots of incredible detail that slowly pan across the screen, creating a continuous flow of beautiful and often bizarre visuals. The use of watercolor is stunning, with colors bleeding into one another to perfectly capture the hallucinatory and disorienting experience of Jean's transformation. It is an unabashedly adult film, filled with explicit nudity and surreal sexual situations set to a haunting rock and jazz-infused score. The animation contorts and morphs in unsettling ways, proving that the medium could be a vehicle for complex, mature, and deeply personal expression. It remains a landmark of animated cinema, a somber and thought-provoking exploration of trauma and empowerment that you will certainly never forget. Number 5. Coonskin, 1975. Returning to the twisted mind of Ralph Bakshi, Coonskin is perhaps his most controversial and misunderstood work, a hyper-stylized explosion of live-action, gang culture, and brutal social satire. The film reimagines the classic Uncle Remus fables within the context of 1970s Harlem. It follows Brother Rabbit, Brother Bear, and Brother Fox as they rise to the top of the criminal underworld, taking on the mafia and corrupt police officers along the way. The visual style is a striking and relentlessly cool blend of hand-drawn animation and live-action backgrounds, a technique that creates a shimmering, unstable reality where the line between fiction and documentary blurs. The atmosphere is one of creeping dread and aggressive grit, bursting with a vibrant, over-the-top cartoon chaos that is designed to provoke. Every frame is a satirical tribute to the stereotypes and racial tensions of the era, rendered with Bakshi's signature sketchy and fluid style. It is a masterpiece of adult animation that revels in its own weirdness, a lovably demented journey into the heart of American darkness that is as smart as it is stylish. The characters constantly shift shape and form to create visual gags that are both clever and stomach-churning, proving once again that in the 70s, no one was safe from the animator's pen. It's a truly wild ride that has to be seen to be believed, a film that seems to exist solely to push the boundaries of taste and decency. Number 4. Heavy Traffic, 1973. While the modern era gave us technical experiments and rotoscoping to depict drug-induced paranoia, the 1970s already had its own masterpiece of hallucinatory urban decay, Ralph Bakshi's Heavy Traffic. This film is a relentless, R-rated explosion of street life, blending traditional animation with live-action footage and gritty real-world photography to create a shimmering, unstable visual style. It tells the story of Michael, a young cartoonist living in a tenement building who retreats into a world of violent and surreal fantasies to escape the crushing reality of his dysfunctional family and the crime-ridden streets of New York. The atmosphere is one of creeping dread and psychological decay, capturing a world that has lost its war on decency and order. Bakshi doesn't just draw a city, he draws a fever dream. The characters constantly waver and morph, reflecting a state of perpetual instability where the line between identity and survival blurs. From the grotesque portrayals of mob bosses to the heartbreakingly raw depictions of addiction and loneliness, the film pushes the boundaries of what animation is capable of. It is a somber, thought-provoking, and deeply empathetic look at the human condition in its most vulnerable state. The visual language of Heavy Traffic is a non-stop barrage of hyper-violent action, explicit satire, and breathtakingly fluid animation that dares to imagine a deeply flawed and grim reality. It stands as a landmark of transgressive cinema, proving that animation can be a medium for complex, mature expression that leaves an unforgettable impact on the viewer. It is a true oddity that exists solely to push the boundaries of taste and reveal the dark, hidden corners of the human experience. 3. Wizards, 1977. After dominating the urban landscape with Fritz the Cat and Heavy Traffic, Ralph Bakshi turned his sights toward the realm of fantasy, but he didn't leave his R-rated sensibilities behind. Wizards is a post-apocalyptic psychedelic trip that stands as a stark, disturbing contrast to the high fantasy tropes of the era. Set millions of years after a nuclear holocaust has wiped out modern civilization, the world is divided between the magical inhabitants of Montagar and the mutated industrial wasteland of Scorch. The film's atmosphere is one of profound unease and experimental chaos. Bakshi utilizes a staggering array of techniques, including his signature rotoscoping, to create a visual experience that feels like a hallucination. The film famously incorporates real-life archival footage of World War II and Nazi propaganda, which the villainous wizard Black Wolf uses to inspire his mutant armies. This creates a jarring, horrifying juxtaposition, where colorful hand-drawn fairies and elves are systematically slaughtered by industrial war machines fueled by the darkest chapters of human history. The tone is relentlessly cynical and violent, stripping away the wonder of magic to reveal a story about the inevitable return of fascism and the death of innocence. The character designs are grotesque and often unsettling, with the mutants of Scorch representing a terrifying evolution of the human form after the fallout. The pacing is frantic, and the soundtrack, a blend of synthesizer hums and orchestral swells, amplifies a sense of a world that is fundamentally broken. Wizards remains a landmark of transgressive animation, a film that used the guise of a fairy tale to deliver a brutal, R-rated commentary on technology, power, and the cyclical nature of human destruction. It is a masterpiece of the 70s underground that proves even in a world of magic, there is no escape from the darkness of the human psyche. Number 2. 1001 Nights, Senyaichi Monogatari, 1969. Long before the Western world accepted X-rated animation, Japanese animator Osamu Tezuka, the god of manga, unleashed this psychedelic and erotic masterpiece upon an unsuspecting public. As the first film in the adult-oriented Animerama trilogy, this is a sprawling and surreal adaptation of classic Arabian folklore that pushes the boundaries of sensual storytelling. The story follows Alden, a poor water seller, on a fantastical journey across a mythical Middle East filled with magic, monsters, and deep sensual delights. The film is a stunning work of experimental animation, blending traditional Japanese styles with modernist design, limited animation, and overwhelming psychedelic imagery that was revolutionary for the late 1960s. The atmosphere is dreamlike and hypnotic, featuring a continuous flow of beautiful and often bizarre visuals set to a rock and jazz-infused score that perfectly captures the era's experimental spirit. It is an unabashedly adult film, filled with nudity and sexual situations that proved animation could be a medium for complex, mature, and deeply personal expression. This landmark of animated cinema was a bold artistic statement, showing that the medium was capable of far more than just entertaining children. It could be a psychedelic mirror to the human soul. Fantastic Planet, La Planète Sauvage, 1973. Topping our list at the absolute #1 spot is a film that stands as the ultimate testament to the transgressive, mind-bending power of 1970s animation, Fantastic Planet. This French Czechoslovakian production is not just a cartoon, it is a surrealist nightmare that feels like a transmission from another dimension. Directed by René Laloux, with character designs by the legendary Roland Topor, the film presents a world so alien and unsettling that it defies every convention of the medium. The story takes us to the planet Yogam, where giant blue-skinned humanoids called drags keep tiny humans, known as Oms, as either pets or wild pests. The atmosphere is one of profound clinical unease. The animation is created using a unique cutout technique, giving the movements a jittery, unnatural quality that perfectly complements the alien landscapes. Every frame is filled with bizarre biological horrors, predatory plants that trap creatures in crystalline structures, and landscapes that pulse with a life of their own. But what truly makes Fantastic Planet an R-rated masterpiece is its cold, detached exploration of genocide, dehumanization, and the struggle for survival. The visual language is deeply disturbing. The scale of the drags compared to the Oms creates a sense of crushing claustrophobia. The soundtrack, a legendary psychedelic jazz rock score by Alain Goraguer, creates a hypnotic, trance-like state that lures you deeper into this beautiful but terrifying world. It is a film that doesn't rely on jump scares or cheap thrills. It relies on a total, suffocating immersion into the other. Fantastic Planet remains the pinnacle of adult animation from the 70s, a bold, artistic statement that proves animation can reach depths of philosophical horror that live-action cinema can only dream of. It is a haunting, unforgettable journey that will stay locked in your subconscious long after the screen goes dark. It is the definitive proof that in the 70s, animation was the ultimate frontier for the avant-garde and the transgressive. If you've enjoyed this journey into the hidden, often uncomfortable corners of animation, don't forget to hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments. Most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more explorations of the strange, the forgotten, and the fascinating films that the mainstream wants you to forget. Your support is what keeps this adventure alive. Trust me, there is so much more to discover in the shadows of cinema. Until next time,